So Jill, can you please get us started?
Yes. Joe?
Yep.
Jay?
Yep.
Jess?
Yep.
Stephanie?
Yes.
So, do I have a motion to approve the board minutes from last month's meeting? Second. Any comments about the minutes, petitions? Jill, roll call vote, please.
Joe?
Yep.
Jay?
Yep.
Jess? Stephanie?
Public comment?
The 3 days.
No public comment. Resident council reports?
Everything is going good with the council?
You're up, John.
All right, we're in full swing with the scout assessment, and we had a call with them this past Friday. And one of the first things they did, they took a look at our admin plan for the Section 8 program and the ACOP plan for public housing. Those are both our basic procedural manuals for how we move from an applicant clear through to the process. And we had used to subscribe to a service through NMK, and they kind of use a boilerplate setup, and then you can customize it to your own housing authority. And we had run that for a number of years, and then stopped it in 2021 or 22. And I restarted it last summer. And with the new one, it has all the boilerplate stuff, but I myself had not had time to go through and compare to the other one. Stout did all that. They went through, they found all the areas where there were discrepancies and made some recommendations on both plans. Vanessa sat in with me on the call, and it was actually very, very, very helpful. It'll be able to enable us to bring both plans back up to speed. So I'm real happy with what I've seen so far with them. The cell phones, I mentioned before that I was going to reevaluate our cell phone program. We had 18 phones and 6 tablets, most of which were not being used. It was costing the Housing Authority close to $1,100 a month. And with the new contract, it's costing just a little over $400 a month. So that the savings on that is significant. I mentioned at the last board meeting that Jill, who wasn't here, was not here because she was undergoing training to become the hearing officer for the Housing Authority. She passed with flying colors, and she is our new hearing officer. A couple things you'll see, these will become actionable items as we get further into the packet. But Hollow Towers general contractor, there's a change order from KIP Construction. And what I like to do with these, because they started on one side of the hallway, then move the other side of the hallway, there's usually one from the earlier half. So we can see for comparison if there's changes, why there's changes, and if it's reasonable. So I closed the change order from March of 24, which was for $18,000 for, they were reframing the kitchen, bathroom chase wall for all the units. And the new change order for the other side of the hallway came through, and it comes through and double that amount, but the reason it's double that amount, and I have a letter included in the packet from our architect, is because on the first side there were only 18 units and there were 36 on the other. It's same exact cost per unit. So that'll be something that's fun, but because of the dollar amount involved, $37,000 will require board approval to go through. I'll pause for a second.
Hope you don't mind, we got started.
Oh, yeah, I didn't expect you to wait, I just wanted to let you know it was coming.
Yeah, we're still early in the meeting,
Might
John's.
prepare.
Oh, thank you, sorry.
The other thing you'll find in your packet, this will all be an actionable item. We had an instance where one of our units was Commons, 320 Walter Drive, is one unit part of a fourplex. And over the winter, there was an instance where the electric had been turned off, and we were aware, pipes froze, multiple pipes broke, there was a lot of water damage. It was an emergency situation. We reached out to our insurer and put in a claim, and at the same time, my staff, our maintenance staff, felt that what was going on was beyond our capability, so we brought someone else in to quickly mitigate what's going on. The extent of the damage is such that the contractor that came in to mitigate the damage, came in with an estimate initially of I believe it was in the neighborhood of $107,000 or $108,000 damage. The insurance company was able to negotiate down with him down to $93,000. It will only cost the housing authority out of pocket $5,000 for a deductible. Normally, something of this magnitude would require board approval, but Chris said due to the emergency nature of it, situation, we acted to get done what needed to be done. So I will be asking for you to ratify it after the fact. There's a contract both from the insurance company as well as from the contractor who's going to fix all of this so that that can be put back together and put online. And that is most of everything. The other two things that will show up in the, for deliberation, we are going to, our first resolution for the new fiscal year is going to be to open up the one-bedroom wait list for the family sites. Now, that's not going to make sudden openings for one bedrooms are, and as I mentioned before, they're few and far between, but opening up the list will allow us, in instances where you've got someone who's eligible for a one bedroom, and there's not one there, and maybe there's an opening on the 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom list, and there's no one in line, they can be overhoused, and HUD recommended that we do this. So we will be opening that up, we'll be taking applications and compiling a new one-bedroom list for the family sites, assuming you ratify the resolution number 1. The other resolution, now that we have a full complement of board members, will be to put everybody on as check signers. All 5 of you will be on, as well as myself. I waited until we had the full board complement because we just went through this process when Mr. Zim stepped down. And even though we're only adding 3 other people, all of us have to go through it all over again. So we'll be doing that for all the banks. There will be a resolution for that. And for Marquette Bank, I have paper for people who aren't already on the account that you can start to fill it out ahead of time and take in. So that'll be the other one. Then we'll have enough people that we should never run into inability to sign checks.
Right.
And that's, I think, the one other thing, our fee accountants were here. They come in and help close out our books for the fiscal year and get us ready for the auditors when they come. The auditors will be coming in August. The fee accountants were here Monday afternoon, all day yesterday, and through just before I came here today. And they said our books are in really good shape, and they have gone back already. So it's been a very busy week.
When is it not?
Yeah, you know, but the ones like this, it's slightly more controllable than some of the fires we put up. So
Sure.
it's been good.
Great. And then the capital fund grant program?
Capital Fund Grant Program, the phase 1 renovations are still on track to be at full completion on June 15th. And the hazard grants, the fire alarm program is also expected to be done by or before that date. The other one that we're looking at, the one where we'll be redoing the electrical on the south half of the building so that the stoves on the non-renovated side can be converted from gas to electric. That will be going out to bid within the next 2 weeks. Our architect expects to have figures in so that by the July board meeting, we will be able to ratify the contract to get that moving. It has to be in the contract before September 1st in order to retain the hazardous grant money. So that they are moving right along with that as well.
So the timeline for completing those renovations, if you had to guess?
The
The
electrical upgrade? That was it'll take some time. They're going to do them in stacks that the same as they have, but they're gonna have to, we're gonna be moving people again in bulk from basically across the hall and over, but they'll only expect to be on the units for a maximum of 2 months. They said 1 to 2 months, so we'll figure 2 months this time, whereas as with the phase 1 renovation, they were out for a couple of years, they'll be out for about 2 months. And they'll be doing them in stacks. It'll probably take well into next year to complete it. But the length of time for the disruption will be significantly less. And it's strictly a matter, I mean, they're going to redo the electrical completely. They have to take out, right now, the 10-watt panels behind the splash dryer in the kitchen, they have to pull it out, move it, rewire things to move it over by the bathroom. So they'll be rewiring the entire unit, so it's extensive, but that's all they're doing.
Any questions for John? In terms of, just to connect some dots, so we're opening the one-bedroom wait list. I know we don't have really any one-bedrooms, but, you know, once we start opening up some of the Holland Towers units, do we have a sense of that?
Well, yes and no. And that's why I didn't open up one bedroom for, the high rise just yet. Assuming everything's done and the numbers June 15 and everything, it is going to open up some units. But there also have to be sub-units that be kept vacant, and will be moved people back and forth on the other side of the building for the electrical. So we'll be able to open it, but it'll be on a somewhat more limited basis.
Yeah.
And until everything's open, and as we go ahead, we'll wait to open that one.
So likely we'll start opening some units by the end of the year?
We should be opening soon.
Sooner than that.
I mean, with the renovation, if the renovation is done on schedule by June 15th, we should be able to be moving some in immediately.
Okay.
But we have, I believe, 49 people on the wait list for all cars already,
Right.
from when it was closed down to begin with. So they'll go through, they'll reach out to everybody, they'll purge any that no longer are wanting to be on that, and we'll move to that, and then we'll go from there with it.
Okay, just to repeat what you just said, 49 on the wait list. We'll go through the typical purge process to
yes.
see who's still interested, and then we'll start filling based on that list.
Yes.
All right, thanks, John.
Well,
Tommy Joe, you're up.
There was no new leases for Elmore and scattered sites. I had 6 recertifications and 3 interims. No eviction notices and no notices to vacate. There was no housekeeping inspection. For Guild, I had 3 new leases and 4 re-exams, 6 interims, no evictions and no notices to vacate, and no housekeeping inspections. The waiting list, family site waiting list, it was pretty much the same. The 2-bedroom went down because a couple of those went into Guild. And then 1 3-bedroom went into Guild, and then the rest are 2 and 1 bedroom. The 2-bedroom that was on there, they, I had to deny their application due to some complications. They had given false information and we found very critical. So I believe that was it.
Any questions for Tommy Joe? Shar's not here.
I can do yours. Looks like she did 2 recertifications and 1 housekeeping inspection. No evictions, 7 annual recerts.
All right.
Shara's actually, the reason she's not here is, I connected her with Lee Assad from HUD, and he's going to help her along with Tammy, who's doing our PIC report, getting those in order, and Lee's going to work with Shar in figuring out how to best go about putting all the residents that are in all towers actually in the units they're in. When this initial phase 1 was started, people were moved across the hall, for instance, with the expectation they're gonna go back to the others, so there were no changes made in the software, there were no changes made with HUD, which we're cleaning all that up right now, and so Char's getting some, one-on-one work with Lee to know how best to go about. Because there's a tremendous amount that needs to be fixed.
I'm glad HUD's, my impression of HUD was that they're overworked, but I'm glad they're taking it down.
They are, but Lee's actually very responsive, with things, and he was was glad to help with that. And he's been helping, Tammy's been working right along with as far as the PIC report goes, maybe I should mention this in the earlier thing. The PIC report, there's that for both, section 80 and public housing. Section 8 is the most critical one right now, because it has to be done by May 31st for what's called our CMAP scoring. So Tammy's focusing almost exclusively on that right now, and she's working closely with HUD as well as with Dave Belushi from Horizon, who was originally working with someone to get that all squared away. And then she'll move on to the public housing one to clean that up. Tammy did all the PIC reporting clear through October of 24 when she worked here, and had everything, we had 100% submittals at that time, so she'll get it.
What's PIC stand for?
Sorry?
The PIC report, what does the PIC stand for?
It has to do with the vacancies and the things that move properly in and out of HUD. What's in HUD, what's actually, for example, who's actually in what units here is what should show up in our software, and it should match what's in HUD. It doesn't. So they're fixing that.
Any questions for John? Or Shar vis-a-vis John? Maintenance report, so am I going to Kyle? Am I going to?
Or then you want me to run?
I can do it. 88 work orders were called in, and on the report it says 2 units were completed, but there was actually 3. There was just an issue with some of the paperwork that I did for the processing it, so there's 3.
3 of, where are we at, just generally speaking of those?
How much are left? I think we're under 20 now,
Okay,
but we could also potentially might have 5 more coming, so it depends on. We get them done as they get brought to us, so.
at a rate of anywhere from 3 to, looks like 6 last month, units that were turning over.
Yeah, this month was a little lower because it's got into the mowing season, so we had to get tractors ready and have someone focus on mowing whenever the weather was cooperative enough for that, and.
Why don't we go to the extermination report, and then if anybody has questions for Kyle about maintenance or extermination, we can do them together.
For Holland Towers in April, they treated 1, and at Gill, they treated 2. But on the 5th of May, me and Dylan went and did an inspection in every single apartment in the
Yeah.
building, yeah. And we inspected every unit to see if there was any more that we need to add to the schedule. And we found 9 apartments that need to be added to the extermination list.
Really? Is that fall outside of our contract with Airlift now?
Yeah, I called them and asked them to, like, I called them the same day we did the inspections and got numbers from them, and they sent over a new thing and to get them restarted back up again in these 9.
Okay, so they're coming back.
They already came back on Monday and they're coming back again next Monday.
Okay.
And then the 30-day warranty for those 9 start next Monday, so then I'm gonna mark it on the calendar, check out probably 25 days, not 30, and then go back with Dylan and re-inspect those 9 apartments again.
Okay, I'm glad you were on top of this completely. Any questions for Kyle? I have more questions, but is there, what are we doing, like, hopefully we treat these 9 units, we get them back down to the low figures like we have, or what are we doing for prevention? Are we doing any, I mean, I know that there's the tenant side of things and like educating them, which is something that we need to work on, but in terms of treatment and stuff.
In every unit that me and Dylan were going into to do the inspection, we were also setting out a trap in each apartment. Just for like next inspections, we can just grab that, look in there too, just to get a better idea. For roaches mainly, with the bait that we put in. But I mean, we were trying to inspect it every quarter, so every 3 months we try to get an inspection in.
And then these 9 units, are they a mix of bed bugs and roaches, or are they?
Yeah, I wish I had wrote the numbers down. I'm pretty sure like 3 or 4 of them were just bed bug. There was probably 3 or 4 of both bed bugs and roaches, and then the rest was just roaches.
But none of these were any that had reported to us that they had at the stations, they were all they had.
Got it. Are they concentrated in one part of the building?
Not really. They're pretty spread out.
Which you know, we don't really know, because we haven't done a thorough study of this, but that would suggest that, like, the bugs aren't going from unit to unit necessarily,
they're not clumped together like that, no,
there's something going on, maybe interactions outside of the units.
I would imagine, yeah.
Or company coming in.
Or something. Last call for questions for Kyle.
I have something I'd like to say.
Go ahead, Karen.
Some of the tenants here, which a couple of, companies ago said it would not hurt anything, that might help. There's stuff you can spread around on, the flooring called tenacious earth. It's not treated with any poison or anything. Diatomaceous earth, that's it. Do you think that'll help?
You're looking at the wrong guy.
Well, what guy am I supposed to?
There was a tenant that used to live here that actually put that all over her house and in her car, and she got severely sick and was in the hospital for a long time because it went through her ventilation system in her car, and she was breathing it in constantly with it just blowing around in there, and I would not put stuff down unless, like, exterminator said, like, either Dylan or the company, because it could either counteract the stuff we're doing or harm somebody.
Diatomaceous earth, it dries them out. It's sometimes recommended like to put in like between walls and gas walls and this whole thing with pipe screws and stuff like that. But if you just have it out for everything else, you're gonna be breathing it. And that's where it causes the problems.
So maybe in the cracks and the crevices, if people are gonna put it anywhere, but it doesn't sound like anybody's recommending people use it. And it sounds like one of the most important things is for folks to report this if they spot bugs in their unit rather than waiting for.
That's where all this started from. One tenant on the 4th floor was letting them breed. And that's where all this started, where it became an epidemic, and here, he doesn't live here anymore, but it was bad.
I mean, for whatever it's worth, I would encourage you to, when you're talking to your neighbors, if they have any sense of a bug problem in their unit, to report it to us so that we can get on it right away. All right, thank you, Kyle. Vanessa, section 8?
So for April, I had 164 units under contract, 0 port in, 0 port outs. 23 batch vouchers were filled, 1 home ownership, 193 on the waiting list, 0 outstanding vouchers, 1 new contract, 15 annual research, 0 port-ins, and 7 interim research.
Any questions for Vanessa?
I just have a question about the chart.
Mhm.
So the number of units under contract, in March was 166 and in April was 164. Does that mean we have fewer units under contract, or there's like 164 new ones?
No, there's 2 vouchers that were actually returned back in, they no longer needed them.
Okay, cool. Why did the waiting list shrink so much?
So I actually went through the waiting list, I kind of mimicked a bit of what Jill was doing with public housing. I went through and verified that all proper documents were had. So there's 2 options to the waiting list, you have the preliminary and you have the voucher waiting list. Of those who are on the voucher waiting list, there's 193, I have all of their documents needed.
Okay.
It clearly states on the application what documents are needed. If I don't have those, they went back to the preliminary. And a 10-day letter, Monday, I'm actually start mailing those out. I was waiting for more envelopes at the office, but get those started so then we can start moving people back on to the waiting list.
Yeah, and it's a bit of background, I think, before you that just were on board. I don't know, I mean, it's called purging the wait list, the process that you're talking about. And if I recall correctly, they had been purged previously, but not at regular intervals. And so we're starting to reenact that to make sure that folks who are on the waiting list are still around and they still want to be.
When I started, there was over 800 applicants on the waiting list. So we purchased it down to a little over 300, and now I've taken it down to 183.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, I'm laughing. I was just thinking of the movie The Purge, and what if that was about going through Section 8 waiting lists? Anyway, any further questions for Vanessa? And then, Richard's not here. We have his numbers.
yes, I have his.
Okay.
April, he did 21 inspections, 10 passed, 7 failed, and 4 were inconclusive.
All right, so moving on now, where are we at? We're at applications, Jill.
In
Thank you,
April,
Vanessa, sorry.
in April, we received 10 applications. For the 1 bedroom, I had 1 paper and none online. For the 2 bedroom, I had 1 paper, 2 online. For the 3 bedroom, no paper, 4 online. For the 4 bedroom, none on paper, like I didn't have any. 5 bedroom, 2 on paper, none online.
Thanks, Jill. Any questions for Jill? I should know this, but what's the process for the paper application? Do they come into the office building? or-
Yeah, they get sent in, they get dropped off here or brought right into the office.
Where do people get the paper applications?
I send a bunch out, or they can stop by and get one.
Okay. So there, in case anybody's interested and they wanted to come by and pick one up, they would go to the office in Gill Commons.
I've also emailed for them to be able to print out and refill out.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
email
too,
again.
yeah, email.
So if folks, because I've heard of a few folks who might be interested in applying, if they email you, that would be another way to do it. And it tends to be folks who are a little intimidated by the online portal,
yeah.
which is what I'm asking.
Chaps also has a copy of it that they print out.
Oh, okay, great. All right, so Barb, resident initiative projects.
I'm presently looking into the Canaan Sports Center, which is part of Carnegie Museums, 360 in Pittsburgh. They offer education on how professional athletes train, what they eat, and what their mental capacity is when they're gearing up for competition. So the children, it's huge, and they have all different types of sports here. And a lot of the kids in public housing like to play football and basketball and so forth. So I think that would be very educational. They also offer laser shows, a planetarium, and the Rangos Theater. Angela Carloni contacted me about the summer lunch food program via Dr. Martin. And this would be for both William Gill and Morgan Village. Breakfast and dinner meals would be given to us or the resident council at each project between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. They would then store them in the refrigerators and would be handed out, kind of like a grab and go, in the morning, okay, to children. The YMCA will come to both Gill and the VFW to conduct an inspection. Andrea Ellsworth from Restore Church was a guest speaker at the Gill Resident Council meeting on May 4th about the many services the church offers. And they also have a bus that holds 48 people, and they'd be more than happy to transport, the residents where they want to go, like close like Bath Crawford Beach or something. I mean, they would be paid, but it certainly wouldn't be as high as what CATA charges, so. And then finally, I would like, the board to approve the following for the MOUs. At present, I would like to ask that both William Gill and the Meadville Housing Resident Council receive $1,000 from the HA. At present, Gill has 2,500 from units occupied and offline, and the Meadville Housing Resident Council has 2,875 from units occupied and offline.
Okay, so first, we don't have any resolutions in our board packet, so I'm not quite sure what you're referring to when you're asking us to approve our MOUs, I should say. We don't have any MOUs in the packet.
Right.
Secondly, what would the money be for?
Well, it's for like their field trips, like to, the Cayman Sports Center, cause that's in Pittsburgh, so that would be kind of expensive. They do take SNAP cards there though, which cuts down on what each individual would have. It's $1 per person. So that would cut down on that. And then they do other activities in the summer, whether it's Kilty Kiln, go to Pat Crawford Beach, and, you know, I mean, it's just activities that they would be doing.
So refresh my memory, please. Do they already have a portion of their budget devoted to activities?
A portion that I just said, 2,500 for Gil and,
Are you asking for the 1,000 in addition to the 2,500
Yes,
or
yeah.
out of that 25?
no, yeah,
In addition.
like we do every year, yeah. Mhm.
So in the MOU, would there be kind of like a budget and would the actual resident council members kind of like approve or sign?
Yeah,
saying,
I have those at the office, I mean, they, of
We
course.
have chosen these activities and gonna put the money toward these.
Right, so I have that in my office, right now, each one stands at, you know, like there's sundry items, there's field trips, there's food, because, when they have council meetings, both councils offer food for residents to come, that type of thing.
I think what I would recommend, Barb, is that you present us with a budget to show where this money would go and what you need it for. And for starters, right, as part of the MOU. And then and when you say we've done this in the past,
Yeah,
could you maybe send some of that paperwork?
well, that would be in board minutes, because I didn't used to do this, Joe, it would have been like,
Well, what used to happen, the way the MOU works is, it allows us to give them $25 per household. It's $15. HUD doesn't really give you money extra. They say that of the money they're giving you for operating funds, you can take $25 of it per unit to put towards their MOU. Typically, housing authorities will give 15 of it towards each unit, and they'll hold back $10 for each unit. Kind of how they hold costs. We've always given the full $25 for each unit, and that's what the 2,500 and the 2,875 amount to. Now, as we mentioned, if you remember at last year's board meeting, there were numerous times in years before that when I was not at the helm for this, where there were thousands more than that paid in out for activities, but that's not part of the MOU money. The MOU money is strictly the 2,875 and the 2,500. Anything beyond that, if the board wanted to have the other for give other money towards success, what that would be. The MOU money is very strictly delineated as to how much they get and how it gets used.
So in that case, when you say approve the MOU, it sounds like we're talking about getting money outside of the money that's allotted by the MOU.
well, that comes from, you, like last year, Joe, if you remember last year, I asked for the same thing, and the board passed it.
Yeah, I don't remember that going that way.
Yeah.
I remember there being confusion last year about what the money was needed for and whether it was already there, and I don't recall passing it, that's why.
Yeah, we got it, Joe.
Sure, but I think it was already in your MOU funds, that's the conversation I remember. I'll go back and review the minutes.
Right, well, I can't put 1,000 in the MOU funds until you pass it. I mean, I can bring the MOU that they have now, and like I said, it says sundry, food, and then there's transportation and, you know, activities. But, you know, like I said, they just, you know, $2,500 isn't gonna give you anything, neither is 2,875, so.
Sure,
that's
as a
all.
matter of budgeting, it sounds like $25 per unit.
Correct,
That goes into the MOU. That's all the money that's spelled out right here. You're asking for something in addition to that.
that's correct.
And it sounds like that wouldn't technically be MOU money. That would be money coming from,
The
Our
housing
general
authority,
budget.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So the language is a bit confusing when you say, I'd like the board to approve the following for the MOUs.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
confusing
All I
because,
could fill out, Joe, was for what they spent for, what they wanna spend for sundry items and what they would spend for food, okay? I can put down field trips, I don't know how much it would cost to go to Pittsburgh, but it's not inexpensive, that I know. The other things that they'd like to do are short trips around here in Edinburgh or Conneaut Lake, something like that. You know,
all right, so just to reiterate, what I'm suggesting that you do, if you want the board to consider this,
Yeah.
is that you present us with an itemized budget that shows how you're going to spend the current MOU money that you have, and what you'd be spending that exceeds that would require us to give you another $5,000.
okay, I can do that.
Any, go ahead.
I'm also a question. So the money that goes into resident council comes from all the households, right? Every household that is occupied.
That's correct. Well, even the ones that are, we have the option of doing just the occupied ones for all of them. We do all.
Okay,
We
so-
do all of them.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. But also, like, I guess my concern is, do the activities serve all of the people whose,
That's up to the resident councils.
and that money is coming from?
That would be up to the resident council to determine. It's supposed to. What happened, the MOU tells us how much money we can get, and it's $25 per. And then they're supposed to set up a budget, as what they want to do, and allocate that out from there. But there isn't, as I mentioned, there is not actual extra money given to housing authority. It's just by HUD statute, we're allowed to take, of the operating fund we're getting anyway, we're allowed to take and allocate X amount of it towards that. And that's why too, that at the end of every fiscal year, any money that didn't get spent in the MOU, it doesn't get carried over, it doesn't get given back, so to speak, because it didn't really come out of anything. It's just, they either use it or they don't.
But it's money that's just, we can give it to them is what the
Right,
thing is, but
right,
it's
right.
not really allotted specifically for that.
Right, we designate of money that's already been given for our article, we designate the $25 per unit for each of the units, and if it gets spent, it gets spent, if it doesn't get spent, there's nothing to carry forward, there's nothing to give back to them. It's just, there's just nothing, and you start again with $25 per unit the next fiscal year.
Oh, I guess my question was just that the concern that maybe not all the residents are being addressed with like activities that are being done.
And that-
Even though
Yeah,
the money
that's mailed out to
is
all
coming
residents
from
if they wanna go.
the fact that they're residing in that place. Does that make sense? Like older folks, people without kids.
Everyone gets a flyer. And it
They are
tells
required, I mean,
what the
Spark
event is.
does reach out to all the units, and they are required to make it available to everybody. And everybody participates in or takes advantage of it is out of our hands.
So my question, I guess, would be if you had a kilted kiln function where kids were going to be painting, would adults without kids be allowed to participate in that function?
Yeah, they have. The adults go, come with the kids, and also there's just adults that do that too.
I was asking, so I wasn't sure how that worked.
Right.
And I guess my only other concern is that because our budget's already strained, like, can we even afford to do this? I'm sure once we're back in the black, like, we could, then all of this will be a lot easier, these won't be such.
Maybe we have some numbers to see what was going to go to, we have available in their positions.
Hey, John, if I could just ask, maybe my mind is not on target here, but, so we have memorandums of understandings with, these residence councils. I think we're obligated, the way I thought the process worked was, if they would do their budget, they would present it to you, up to that, whatever that amount is. You make the call on dispersing that money up to that amount.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to do with that. You would be making that
What they would
determination.
have to,
Is if she asks for more money than what we've already promised we would do.
right,
So I think that's the distinction here. The original amount, you would just be, the council would give him whatever the plan is as far as the trip or whatever it happens to be. You would either authorize it or not authorize it. And, that would never hit these folks, it's just the extra money that,
Right.
and they would need, at least my suggestion would be, is they ought to be presenting that to John in advance so that he can include it in the board packet, as opposed to just bringing it up in front of the board. I think that would work a lot better.
I have a question. Basically, what I think I'm hearing about the MOU money, this is what you budget with what you have for the residents? Is that what MOU is?
Well, the MOU is like much for however many residents or however many units are in, you know, like 132 units here, for instance. If you had a resident council, you'd get $25 per unit. And then you would create a budget and decide how you wanted to spend that money.
Okay, from what I read in the literature I have, it says that you get $25 a unit, but council has access to $15 of it. Housing has access to the other 10.
But it can run that way. That's typically how they recommend running it. But we traditionally have given the full 25 to allow the resident councils to.
So we do not have a council here.
Then there's no money.
Okay, and then my other question to you is, people have been talking with me and with Chris about setting up a council. This would be this lady's job, right? Barb Hauserman's?
Yeah.
We need to find a way to set up an appointment, and we need to get these people in here. I need your help to find out how, because you guys.
We could coordinate. We probably have to involve Chris. I think you're more familiar with.
Mr. Quisenberry?
Yeah, he's who helped them before.
Yeah, no, I have, I mean, you'd ultimately have to have an election.
And the people that were involved in it, have knowledge of that are no longer tenants here, so
Okay.
they would need someone with that knowledge to guide them.
And I have another question for you, Barb.
Yeah.
Since I'm told it has nothing to do with John. We had a checking account that belongs to these people of over $1,500.
That's correct.
We do not know where it is. Do you know where it is?
Unfortunately, the resident council that was here prior wasn't willing to work with Barb and didn't allow Barb to be part of that.
Then it is in limbo because
So,
Tammy
and
told
that
me.
is a problem. They had their own account separate from the MOU money. They had fundraisers or whatever. The housing authority has nothing to do with those accounts. We're not on those accounts. We don't have access to those accounts. And
So-
what Karen's asked me before is, do we know where that money went or is and?
Because there is 3 funds. There is a checking account that can have any amount in it. There is a coffee fund that can only have $100 in it. And then there is the
Petty cash.
petty cash that can only have 150 in it. And I know it was maxed out, and I talked to Jackie, and I said, Jackie, it was over 1,500 in their checking account. Cause they used everything as a fundraiser, but none of the money got used on the people that were given into that fund. This belongs to them. Should I reach out to HUD about it, or what should I do?
I don't know who to reach out to for that.
So I just wanna make sure I'm getting everything correct. So you've got this fund that presumably has $1,500 in it. Nobody has access to it because nobody currently living here as part, that would be interested or, in accessing those funds was an officer in the previous
Yes,
resident
Tammy.
council.
Tammy and Jackie. Nancy, she couldn't have nothing to do with it. There are members who have, were on the board that still live here. Just Jackie left and Nancy passed away. Tammy resigned because she's very ill. Okay, but Tammy still lives here, Chris Pelk still lives here. They were on council.
So I wonder, would they have access to that account information?
I don't know, but I had to rescue deposit slips from our, 4th floor laundry because they just put deposit slips with account numbers there. I have it locked up. I called John. They just put it in the laundry room and I don't know who would do that. but it was from the last council.
You have deposit slips with account numbers on it?
Yes, that's why I rescued it, that's why I called John right away.
Okay.
That's what we're hanging on to this, because.
Well, if you could get them to John, I mean, I don't know how they manage to open up a bank account, because they're not a entity that, I mean, I don't know what number
We
they
talked
use.
to
They must
you
be using
about
housing
this
authorities,
before.
Yeah,
EIN
Is that the
number.
pin cash, the 1,500 in pin cash?
That is the checking account.
they always had, there was always an account, the housing authority was not on, it was for the resident council. When I first started working here, over 12 years ago, they were without a resident council then, and all that stuff was in a bag, with a couple money bags and deposit slips and everything, in Paula's office. And I held on to it until council, then they took it all back. And
John, since there's no council here, I was always under the assumption that the books had to be turned into the office.
they're not
The
our,
problem of it is the person who kept the books was called the treasurer. That's Nancy Petra. She passed.
I know.
And so I don't know
Nobody
where
knows
the
where
files
it's at.
I
are.
think the current MOU requires them to turn over that information.
okay,
Cause that's the HUD form
okay.
that we're using. I think the answer to this, without taking up a lot of time in the meeting, is if you could get that information over to John, I'll work with John to identify where this account is, who's got the account.
I'm
There's a
gonna bring it
there's
to
a
you
way
in 2
to,
minutes. I can go right upstairs right now and get it.
okay, that's fine.
Just get it to me so I can take back when I leave.
Vanessa,
Just get it to me before we leave, so I can take it back into the work.
before Vanessa, they, had the account sent to the office
They
as
used,
bill.
they used to mail them to the office, and we asked them to stop mailing just because it wasn't our account, needed to be mailing them to the resident council.
I was asked to reach Jackie. I do have her phone number. I did talk to her. She said, you know, Karen, I think you're right about how much was in the account because they posted out on their bulletin board.
Yeah, go ahead, just give me those before they we'll look into it.
And there's also a machine that rolls coins. Do you want that machine also?
You have a resident council office up there, that could just stay in your resident council office.
We do have one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where's it at?
7th floor.
It's on the 7th floor. It has been for over a year here.
It's up on the 7th floor, there's a resident council office.
And so what do I do with that? Because that's in my apartment. That's what was in with
Get
the.
a hold of Kyle and have someone from meetings, like from that unit to that office, and you can put stuff there. But get the account numbers.
I'm going right now.
Okay.
And then Karen, really quickly, just to finish this up, if you guys are interested in holding another vote, which it sounds like that would be the next step, if you wanna reconstitute this resident council, it sounds like you could work with Barb, maybe with Chris, to make sure we have that process.
yeah, if they contact Barb will get a hold of me and I'll show you what you need to do.
Can you also talk with these people and set up a rule about councils checking accounts and what should happen from now on?
I think you have an MOU that lays that out. I'll make sure of that. I do get them all confused, but, cause I think we went to the standard form and it had all of that bookkeeping language in it. So yeah, we'll be able to answer your question with respect to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then just so I don't lose it, so Chris, you were saying to go back to the earlier question of this budget, the MOU budget for the resident council. So it sounds like the procedure is supposed to be that you don't bring this to us, that the resident councils bring it to John. John authorizes
Up to the,
up to.
Up to the LOU amount, anything above and beyond.
So it sounds like that needs to happen first, and then if there's something that goes above and beyond, assuming John approves and authorizes all of it, and you want more money, then I think you need to come to us with a budget to justify that.
Right, well, it'll be the budget that the council gives to him. Okay?
All right, so items for deliberation and actions. We've got the 2 resolutions, which John previously alluded to. We've got general contract change order and then, I think we can just do these one by one. Is there a motion to approve the resolution to open the one-bedroom family wait list, which, just correct me if I'm wrong, would not include Holland Towers, but the wait list?
Everything except for Holland Towers, correct.
Is there a motion to approve? Steve makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second. And we will get.
Jane, I'll give it to you. All right,
We can
we'll
share.
let Jill decide.
We can share.
All right, any questions about this? It sounds like the right move to me. So Jill, roll call vote, please.
All right, Steph,
Yes.
Joe?
Yep.
Jay?
Yep.
Jess?
Yeah.
Stephen?
All right, motion for the next resolution to amend the bank card signatures. Is there a motion?
No motion.
Steve makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Steph gets a second. Good for you. You're fast.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
All right, any questions about this one? So is it just so folks know, they just have to, once we do the resolution, do folks have to actually go to the bank? I can't remember.
It's gonna vary by bank. I've got paperwork for you and Jane and I won't need to, but, and they will still have to sign it. But the other three will have, for Mercer County, state paperwork and stuff, you have to go with your, driver's license and sign stuff, and you can fill this out and take it with you, it'll save some time. Some of them, Northwest will do it all by computer, if you're not able to do it with computer, you can go in and do it in person. I'm not sure the process will be for Erie Bank and for First National, because they've never gotten me on any of those yet, but we'll go way through it. Mercer County Bank is fairly easy, but we'll get it all done. As soon as I have, signed resolutions, I'll go to the banks this week and get the process started for all.
Any questions? Roll call vote, please, Joe.
Steph?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jay?
Yep.
Jess? Stephen?
Yes.
The change order, is there a motion to approve the change order?
So much.
Steph makes the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions for John about this change order? Jill, roll call vote?
Steph?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jay?
Yep.
Jess? Stephen?
Yes.
All right, and then finally, Walker Drive, we're ratifying the funds that have already been spent to pay for the deductible due to the pipes freezing and breaking. Is there a motion to ratify? Steve makes a motion, is there a second?
I'll take Karen.
Any questions? All right, Jill, vote?
Steph?
Yes.
Joe? Jay?
Yep.
Jess? Stephen? Yes.
He had a box, but I couldn't lock it up with the box.
All right, so moving on now to our treasurer's report. First of all, the check register.
Check registers are in there, I've highlighted some of the big ones as I did for the last month, going to this month, are some of our much larger bills. There's the insurances was there's $197,369 for property casualty, another $35,970 for some of the office insurances that are in there. Our pilot payment to the city for $62,218, and they're spread between the three units, so that you will see those totals just like that. And then I had mentioned too that we've got hit with an additional cost for Sprague Energy, that's who delivers the gas, not the gas itself, but the delivery of the gas. And they hit us with a $48,550 expense, and that's in here as well. So those are all highlighted. And I won't belabor it too much, but I will explain the impact of those on the financials when we get to that part.
Motion to approve the check register.
No motion.
Is there a second? Any questions? John, the only abnormality here is the Sprague, correct?
Yeah, Sprague was
That was something
extraordinary.
unforeseen, yes.
Yeah, completely unforeseen. The others are normal, those are normal insurances and the normal pilot.
Roll call vote, Jill?
Steph,
Yes.
Joe,
I'm gonna abstain.
Jane?
Yep.
Jess? Yeah. And Sarah?
And then, the income statements?
And the financials, before anybody has a heart attack at it, when you look at it, it looks like we have a $345,785 loss. However, $344,176 of that is the expenses I just mentioned. And if you were to divide that by 12, that's only $28,000 for a month. And there was another $7,000 amount in the check register that was for having the 353 Linden, the one that had the drug residue, having that retested. So if you took that out, your preliminary would be basically in there about $21,000. And it's not anywhere near what this looks like. But it takes a few months for the impact of paying on insurance and everything like that to kind of balance out.
Motion to approve income statements? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions about the income statements?
Is there a reason that the annual budget's zero for all of them?
Yes, because we don't have the budget put into the software. So, that's a different, process, and we often don't do that. I'll get to it at some point, but it's,
It would help to see the big numbers that you're saying, like, will work themselves out if there was.
the pilot figure's normal, the insurances are normal, the spray is absolutely not normal. The 7,000 for the, having the drug residue retest is not normal. And just to put all this in perspective too, I want to point out, I mentioned when we were doing the budget, how in years past, HUD prorates what they figure out where subsidy is going to be, and then they prorate it. And in years past, it's come sort of 103%, 105%, somewhere in there. And we were told that this year to not expect much more than 89 to 90%. So we did the budgeting, we figured it out, I think we did 89%. But HUD came out with their official proration 2 weeks ago, and it's 86%.
Oh goodness.
And because of that, when you figure our approximate monthly operating fund subsidy is about $100,000. So we're running about $16,000 short per month and a half since January. So that's over a $75,000 deficit in operating funds we're at right now this year compared to what we were last year. And there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, that's, and the way they don't send you a nice letter and say, hey, here's what your proration is. What happens is they give you you go into the portal, the LOX portal for HUD to draw down your operating subsidy. They allocate it multiple months at a time, 2 months, 3 months. This particular year, in January, they put in 5 months worth. Okay, so you look at what you were given in January, divide by 5, and that's what you pull out each of the months for 5 months. Except that, then when I went in for the beginning of this month to draw down the last fifth, it's not there. There's not that much there. I thought, where did money go? You know, you go to draw it down and it yells at you and says you're trying to think what was allowed. Well, I reached out to our fee account, I reached out to HUD. Proration factor came in, it was 86%, so they correct for that. So where they were giving you more, so they gave you too much you were taking too much out for 4 months, and it's less. So
What is your fiscal year run from and to?
our fiscal year, April 1st to March 31st. But the HUD subsidy is running on a calendar year.
Getting curveballs from all directions.
You know, it's okay. I'm getting used to it. I guess I started out used to it. I mean, it never changes. You develop a tolerance to it, right?
Any further questions for Joe? Roll call vote, Joe?
Steph,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jay?
Yep.
Jeff? Saber?
Yes.
All right, any business that the board would like to raise? Any communication? Oh,
Well, I don't know if it's new business or it's communications, and I'm kind of glad, I don't know if I should bring it up here. I ran into a resident in public and they shared with me that they're having this issue with another tenant that I guess the housing authority has tried to address like multiple times. But their concern is that they have all of these animals that they're not really supposed to have, and now in the summertime, anytime the temperature gets above a certain point, they smell that house in their house, cause I don't know, that the apartments are connected. So I wasn't sure, is there anything we can do? Can we call in like animal control and have them like say, hey, these animals aren't being kept in? Cause I know the resident in question, and when I lived up there, she asked me about something, so I went to talk to her, and I was standing way out from her door and could smell her house. So I can't imagine what it's like to be connected to that house and have the temperatures raise, and now your house smells like animal stuff.
Waste.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like, now that's infringing on her peaceable enjoyment of her apartment.
Has she complained to the manager?
I did direct her to do that. I said, please, let your property know, and then,
That would be the starting point.
and then if, you don't get satisfaction there, then let John know.
Yep.
And then if John can't help you or doesn't help, not that you wouldn't, then let the board know. So I did tell her that,
Okay.
but she, I guess because of her own illness, she doesn't really know how this has changed at all. Like, she wasn't even aware that you were,
Okay.
so I think maybe some residents just don't know.
Yeah, make sure she reaches out to Tommy and then loop me into it.
Okay, I wanted to let you know, because I know like 2 years ago, it was, that same resident still had that same problem.
Okay.
But I was told that you guys have tried to, I'm not criticizing. Just-
I'm not aware of the situation, but, well, loop me into it.
Okay.
all right, we'll classify that as new business, so any communications?
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Actually, I would like to, I know me and Jane here were supposed to be on a committee to do the bylaws. Did you still wanna be on that committee, or should we, I need help with it, and our schedules do not coincide.
You're not.
Like, every time we've tried to be like, we're gonna work on it, it doesn't work out, which is not your fault, you're very busy, I'm busy, stuff happens. So I didn't know if maybe we needed to re-examine that and make it a different committee. There's some people, I know sometimes we can have 2 board members and then members of the public, if that would like to. Like, I'd maybe like to bring in some people who are not on the board but have the knowledge, and I don't know how to do that though. Do I ask those people and then have them come and the board say yes or no? Like, should they be at the board meeting where we change the committee composition?
I'm gonna defer to Chris on this.
Should we, is that how you?
Well,
Is that how
I
you do that?
think Joe has the liberty of creating committees. I mean, we only wanna have 2 board members on the committee.
Right.
I think you can give you the latitude of getting
Yeah.
whatever input you wanna get. I don't think there's anything to stop you from doing that. I mean, ultimately, your committee's gonna report to the board as a whole. If they don't like what you did, they'll tell you that. If they like what you did, they'll tell you that as well. So, I mean, I think you have the latitude to do what you want. If James still wants to be on the committee, that's fine. But
No,
unless
because
she's
if
looking to get out.
someone to be or like had the time, or if someone else would like to join me that maybe has, just because our situations are different, where we could like set up some Zoom meetings where we could conference, and even if you don't have the time to meet in person, like some of the other people I'm thinking of are also very busy, but we could Zoom and get this done, because I know we've been talking about it for
Long
like a
time.
year now.
So just procedurally, if Cena reaches out and tries to bring some more people onto this committee and I'm fine with it, then we have to, is there a re-approval process? No.
I mean, really, the committee that reports to you are the 2 of them. They can add as many people as they want to the committee, and those folks can obviously come here when they make their presentation. But the real authority lies with your two members here. And I know we did talk, when we were talking about the committee early on, you want some help from me, or if you've got a draft or something, you wanna email it to me for my thoughts in advance, I'm happy to do that. Cause you do need to make some changes, there's clearly some changes you need to make.
Yes.
Do you wanna substitute out of the committee?
Sure, you wanna substitute in?
Sure.
Okay, I don't wanna hurt anyone's feelings, cause.
No,
It's
no,
just like-
my schedule changes every week, so.
Yeah, I know, and that's, I felt bad, because like, yeah, we can't really get time to work on it, and I really would like to get it done, because it just feels like it's been hanging out there for
Mhm.
a long time.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. All right. Anything else? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
One second.
Jill,
Seth?
Yes.
Joe?
yes.
Jake?
Yep.
Jess? Yes. Sadie? Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone.
By mail or drop them off,
Yeah.
Oh, you drop it off.
I mean, I think you should be all
Oh,
clear,
it
right?
says Pittsburgh at the top here, that's why.
They just want that whole place and everything.
Oh, okay.